for another edition, Penn Live's Penn State Blue-White Breakdown. I'm going to get it right one of these Wednesdays, Dave Jones. I'm Bob Flounders. He's Dave Jones. We're pretty much in late July, mid-July.
Bob, are you giving permission to be recorded?
I did. I gave my consent.
Got it? All right.
Real big. I gave my verbal consent, so we're good. Okay. Dave, how hot is it in your neck of the woods right now in the Downingtown area? It's really hot in Harrisburg.
I took Kaiser down the Struble Trail, which is this hike and bike trail that's fantastic that goes along the Brandywine Creek.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. But, I mean, he had to go in like every half mile. It's like a 3-mile trail. We go up and we go back if it's nice. Yeah. It was like the surface of Mercury yesterday. And even though it's kind of shaded with lots and lots of trees, it was I was drenched.
Yeah.
Kaiser had to go in the creek like every half mile where he usually might go in once.
Yeah. But how often did you go in the creek?
I have done that before when Nick was a boy. Yeah. Kaiser went in and chased geese, which was really funny. He didn't really have to go in. He just saw the geese and he doesn't like Canada geese. So he went in and it was like Jaws. He was swimming toward them, and they're kind of going, and he's swimming faster. And then he started galloping after them. And he just does it to piss them off. He's a funny dog.
Yeah, he's got a pretty, I would say German Shepherd's, the coat's fairly thick in the summer, or does he lose a lot?
Yeah, and he loves water, which they don't usually. They don't usually love water like he does. Yeah, he's like an overgrown frat boy. He's a lot like you. He's like a big, rambunctious, overgrown frat boy.
I am not insulted by that comparison. I'll take that.
By the way, you only texted me about the Hams beer thing. You need to explain what the poll was. It was a Chicago poll, wasn't it? I don't
know what's going on in Chicago, but Ham's beer apparently won some beer taste test
twice.
The best of Chicago or something. I'm like, what are you guys doing? It's another Dave. It's another one. We, every year we used to go to Chicago. I know we didn't start talking about Penn State football.
You're going in a couple weeks. Are you ramping up?
It's Indianapolis this year, remember?
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yeah.
But, I mean, Penn State fans have been to Chicago. They know. They're not going there to drink Hams. What's going on? It was like $4 a case in the 80s. It's like PBR and Yingling Lager.
I wasn't even sure, but I thought that was pretty much urine, right? It was not good beer.
It's become like trendy to drink them. So,
oh, my God.
Yeah, it's only drink them if you have to, is my advice to Penn State fans. If you got nothing else better to do, drink Hams.
Millennials are ruining our culture. But anyway, go ahead.
Dave, let's talk some Penn State football. A couple things I want to ask you about. Let's just start just generally the news with Lonnie White. Penn State's, he was a part of Penn State football's 2021 class, a tremendous two-sport athlete, football and baseball. Penn State, if they can get him to Penn State where he would play both sports for a limited time, probably. He's a tremendous athlete, probably a steal. He went in the third round in Monday's baseball draft to the Pittsburgh Pirates. And he probably would have went earlier because I think some teams are a little worried that he might actually at least spend a little time at Penn State. Dave, my question for you is, if you're Lonnie White, and you're in line to make a significant chunk of money.
I'm playing baseball. You don't even have to go any farther. No. I mean, what do you really have to do? Nothing even. Did you watch that product? I don't want to get off on a tangent, but this has to do with Lonnie White. It has to do with the decision. Did you watch that product last night? Do you ever watch the All-Star game anymore? Did you ever watch baseball?
No, it's just too hard for me to watch baseball.
Did you ever watch baseball?
Yeah, I watched it. I watched it when both All-Star teams played to win and they cared about the game.
Yes.
That went out the window, I think, at some point in the 80s. I mean, even the 90s.
No, I think it was the 90s or 2000s when these guys started making incredible money, and that gets back to Lonnie White. If you could make that kind of money without any threat of getting hurt, would you not, unless you're a catcher, would you not do that? Of course, why wouldn't you do that? Without any threat of CTE? I mean, if he has a good shot to actually make the show and all you got to do is make the show. I mean, you have to make the show to make any coin at all, especially the way it is now with the minors being contracted. But it was always that way for umpires, for players, for everybody. But why would you not? I mean, that the product right now is so bad. And I used to love Reds baseball, man, when I was a kid. And I wrote about Reggie Jackson's 539-foot home run yesterday because it was the 50th anniversary in the 71 All-Star game. I mean, I went back and watched that YouTube tape, and the talent on that field, it was incredible. Tim Kirkjian wrote this great story, 22 Hall of Famers. And that isn't including Sparky Anderson and Earl Weaver, who are in the Hall of Fame, and Pete Rose, who we know isn't in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it was just, if you watch the tape, it was one ass kicker after another, and they wanted to win that game. Right. The year before, Pete Rose ran over Ray Fosse, which was a little bit over the line, a lot over the line, but they wanted to win the game. And I mean, the American League hated them. The leagues hated each other. I don't blame interleague play on the reduction of that. I blame a lot of the salaries that are just crazy. I mean, if you saw those guys out there last night, that product was a succession of corporate branding, meaningless BS interviews, and the general message that this game does not matter. Nobody cares about the outcome of this game. And that cannot be the message for Major League Baseball. But it's kind of the message for all of Major League Baseball. Hey, we're all making money. Who cares who wins? Yep. And I don't think you said that about the NBA the other week when we were texting, but I think it's much, much more prevalent in Major League Baseball. Yeah. And you can't really say that about the NFL, NHL. I don't think about the NBA. We disagree about that with certain players, but you can say it about MLB.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're Lonnie White and you're his family, you use the Penn State offer as an insurance policy, right? You sign with the class.
Yes.
You just see how the draft plays out. If you're healthy, you see what you just created another choice for your future. You know, in a worst case scenario, Dave, he had a free ride to Penn State and he had a chance maybe to play football. But I'll just be curious to see when he decides what he's going to do, how he's going to do it. I think Penn State fans kind of realize that, you know, baseball might be the smart choice for Lonnie as well. I just really wanted to see him play football because I just have a feeling that this kid is quite an athlete. And I think you used to watch a little of Phillies post-game live with Michael Barkan. And I think Ben Davis is on that show. And Ben Davis went to the same school that Lonnie White did. Ben Davis was, I think, picked number 2 overall one year in the draft. And Ben said, this kid's way more talented than I am.
Ben Davis is a good dude, man. I wish he had more of I wish he was on a lot of their product more than he is. We used to have some. It was really fun to pick his brain in the green room when Comcast Sportsnet used to be what it is, and we would find each other as guests sometimes. Him and Jim Lynam, they were so much fun to ask questions of and learn stuff about the game because they loved talking about the game.
Right.
As a parent, I mean, what you said about Lonnie White and their decision they got to make. I mean, Nick I did not allow Nick to play football because we went to his pediatrician and he had bad concussions when he was 7 sledding and 10 when he fainted in science class when they started talking about the human bloodstream and got up and tried to go to the bathroom and fainted and whacked his head really hard. So you know about concussions. If you've had 2 when you were a kid, it makes the subsequent ones more dangerous. And our pediatrician, who I really trusted, said, it's the old Italian guy. He goes, in all conscience, I cannot recommend it. And I said, that's that. And Nick played a lot of baseball, had a good time, and he wanted to play football. He really wanted to play football, but we couldn't let him. There were parents, I think, all over the country making that decision in the 10 years that we've really learned about CTE. And it's in the backs of their minds, even if they don't say so. I really believe that.
You are, of course, talking about recent college graduate Nick Jones. Congratulations, Nick, if you're viewing or listening. Dave, it wasn't Pittsburgh, it was Point Park, or did he go to
Point Park? Yeah. Mike DeCourcy's school.
Did Mike write him a nice recommendation?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mike is very proud of Point Park. He's very proud of being
It's in a cool spot in Pittsburgh, right
It's
on the water.
Yeah, you know where the triangle is? Why they have the triangle on
the confluence?
Yeah,
you mean
of the Monongahela and the Allegheny. Yes, confluence is the correct word, Bob. But you know why they have the triangle on like the Penguins uniforms? That triangle is the point, and the fountain is there, and that is actually a state park. It's called Point Park State Park, and then the campus is right there. It's like four city blocks. It's very urban. Yeah, it's very specified on marketing, advertising, and theater arts. They have this beautiful theater, and it's like the number 6 school for dancers and singers and lighting technicians on Broadway. So it's a very specified school, and he had a great time and he had a great experience. Not cheap, let me tell you, but
I would just want to tell Penn State fans, you come for the Lions football talk, you stay for the Point Park breakdown on just what kind of education.
The funny thing is, I would say that my kid goes to college in Pittsburgh, and all these people automatically say, "Oh, he goes to Pitt. That's why Jones wore that Pitt shirt." You know. No.
Pittsburgh's a fun town. I always love going to Pittsburgh.
It is. And you never don't know where you are when you're in Pittsburgh, which you can say about how many cities in this country: Indianapolis, Orlando. Where am I? Not Pittsburgh.
Yeah, absolutely. Very distinctive, very nice people. I think I always enjoy it. Dave, let's move this along. I want to talk a little bit about. I know you don't like watch lists, and I don't like them either. The Dodd watch list for coaches, preseason coaches, for all they do for.
No, I don't like watch lists. James Franklin, that's terrific. Yeah.
Dave, there are 5 Big Ten coaches on the list. I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't see it. I saw that it was out. Is Brett Bielema on there? I want to know.
Brett Bielema did not make it.
Why not?
I want you to name all 5 Big Ten coaches and don't mess up.
I'm sorry? Oh, name the 5? I have to guess. Okay. Ryan Day's got to be on there.
Smart thinking. Yes.
Tom Allen.
Yes.
And James.
3.
And
2 more.
I'm saying not Harbaugh, correct?
Harbaugh does not. I don't think Harbaugh's going to be making many watch lists in the future.
Mike Loxley. No, just kidding. You know who should be on it, who I don't think is Schiano.
You do have some love for Greg Schiano. He is
I don't know him as a guy. I just think watch out for that guy. I've seen him do it before, so I don't know, but I've seen him doing it. It's gonna be Paul Christ and let me see, PJ Fleck.
No, Kirk Ferentz.
Oh God, that's so lame.
How is Pat Fitzgerald not on this list after what he does every year at
two titles out of
what does he have to do to get recognized?
Yeah, if I thought of Pat, I would have said, nah, I probably didn't put him on. Yeah.
Hey, he got to the Big Ten title game last year.
He got to it 2 out of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And the first time with Clayton Thorson playing quarterback. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And a retread last year from Indiana, who I actually like, but I mean, come on. Yeah, you got me there. In fact, my nephew got really recruited hard by them, and I thought he made a big mistake, but I kept my mouth shut and went.
It's hard for you to do that, Dave. So well
he's
done.
not my kid, but he went to Virginia Tech instead, and then to Maryland, and then after that 59-0 game, we were having breakfast the next morning. I said, well, what do you think? He didn't go to Northwestern because he thought that the guys there were a little too preppy for his taste. And I said, what do you think about these knuckleheads you're on the team with now? And he's a great kid, Josh. But I mean,
Dave, you were on the Tom Allen bandwagon pretty early when he was at Indiana.
I was
before last season. I just want to ask you this. That decision to go for 2 in overtime against Penn State to win the game.
Wasn't it great? Yeah.
How big, how stonesy was that call? And they were going to be a good team regardless, but, they got the 2. They barely got it. I don't know if they actually did get it, but they got the call. and that just transformed the season for him. Penn State never recovered, but just the chutzpah to do something like that. How much do you think that helped that season for him?
And also,
all the whole moving forward, like the river in the pond is huge.
On the other hand, think of what it did to Penn State.
Yeah, they never recovered.
And that's the impact of a decision like that in the first game. This is a huge game, and if we blow this, it could ruin the whole season. Don't forget they were coming off that last second loss to Tennessee in whatever the hell flea bag bowl that was. But it was a great game. The
down south. I think it was
23-22 game, and they had a 22-9 lead and couldn't hold on to it.
Yeah.
So then you pile that on top of it, and a missed two-pointer. They're known for blowing games at the ends of games. So those were the ramifications, and he did it anyway. Yeah. He pulled the trigger. I think he's like half nuts, frankly. He's just
I think he needed to be
in a good way. Yeah. I had inside information on Tom because of our old friend Steve Bench, and Stephen Bench, his kid, who transferred out of Penn State after his freshman year. People might remember the Virginia game, O'Brien's first season, when Stephen actually got in the game when Matt McGloin was hurt momentarily. They lost the game. Stephen came in. What did he run, like 4 plays? They were all like option keepers or something.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that game came down to the specialists, and Penn State should have won it. But
Sam Ficken wasn't ready at that point.
Right.
Anyway, Stephen is a great kid. I kept track of him and his dad because he used to drink beers with his dad on the road, and so did you occasionally. Steve, they have some money because Stephen's mom works for a giant regional oil company, and they have the wherewithal to go to all the road games. So Stephen's dad, Steve, was there at all the games. And I called them up about Tom Allen when he came up from South Florida, where Stephen transferred to. And they just sang about Tom Allen. They said, and Allen, remember, had been up there as the defensive coordinator when he got the shot to be. I actually called them about him when he was just the DC. And they said, this guy is going to transform that crappy defense. And he did. He did it in 1 year when Kevin Wilson was the head coach. Then Kevin Wilson gets run out of there. And I called back down there and called to Stephen, and Stephen says, this guy ready to be a head coach? And they said, yes, he is going to do it. He's been a head coach a lot in high school. He knows what he's doing. And so, if you know people around a person, around a situation, that sometimes they're Pied Pipers, and that's who Tom Allen is. He's a leader. He's a little nuts, but people follow him. Kids follow him because he cares. He really cares. He cares about his kids. He cares about the game. He cares sometimes too much, but that's the kind of guy that went for that 2-point conversion.
Yeah, I was, and the year before in 2019, he was the head coach then as well. And they took Penn State, a good Penn State team, to the limit. I think it was 31-24. Mm-hmm. At the end of the game, I mean, Penn State was able to make some things happen, but Indiana had him in a lot of trouble. I think Watts-Fillier was ejected or got knocked out. He got knocked out. Yeah, it could have been a different game, but that was a head cracking game too. Yeah, that wasn't the usual Indiana team we'd come to know, and that was kind of a sign that these guys are turning the corner. Yeah. To the point of all this, what about the East in the Big Ten now? Yeah. You're talking about Rutgers coming on and recruiting. What are they, number 13 in the nation right now in the 2022 class? Is that still correct, or is it? Yeah, they are doing very well. Maryland gets some 5 stars because of Loxley. Indiana, you talked about Indiana. That Indiana Penn State game at In-State College is going to be a really, really. I hope Penix is close to what he was last year. I just don't know how bad that knee was, but they have some good defensive players, some good offensive players, and that's going to be a real tough game for Indiana. I'll tell you what, Michigan and Michigan State better be careful this year. I know. Yeah, both could be in a lot of trouble. No, Michigan State could very easily be at the bottom of the division. And when's the last time we said that? We were talking about the who's the guy that went to Louisville, came from Louisville? John L. Smith. That's right. Yeah. Remember the halftime interview with John L. Smith in Ohio State? Remember when that coaches are screwing it up. 2002, Larry Johnson ran for 700 yards in the last game to go over 2,000
on the dirt.
100 points
on the dirt that was painted green. Yeah,
that was the Indiana game, right?
Yeah,
I'm talking to, Dave, so let's move it along a little bit. I wanted to talk to you about a Penn State player that got overlooked his loss last year, because I talked to him for a magazine story about 6 weeks ago. I got to talk to Coach Daywan Sider about him as well. And there are some videos out there of what he looks like and how he's moving. We mentioned the Penn State Indiana game. Penn State did not have Noah Cain very long.
Oh, Noah Cain. Okay.
3 carries. He was really good his freshman year. Well, if you see the videos, he's up to 215. There isn't a lot of body fat at all on Noah Cain. He told me he's easily in the best shape of his life. He feels great. And that's the kind of running back that can really change Penn State's offense. And that's the kind of running back that I think Mike Yurcich can really utilize, assuming he's healthy and wins the starting job. But I think that Penn State's offense, even though they might have some issues early throwing the ball, that running game with that offensive line and those 2 tackles and those 2 tight ends, if they're ahead in a game, early in the fourth quarter, they might not give the ball back.
2 questions here. Do you necessarily, I read your story about running back by committee and all the guys they got all the way down to Keziah Holmes and
John Lovett.
And that made a lot of sense. But are you personally, do you believe in a feature back if you can do it? In this case, Noah Cain, because I've always been a huge Noah Cain fan. And 2, do you believe that certain guys just are injury prone? Like we mentioned Michael Penix. Michael Penix has happened 3 straight years. It's happened a lot of Cain. Do you think that's luck, or do you think it's tendency?
Well, Noah told me that the injury at Indiana, and he had, I think it was a high ankle sprain. He hurt himself in the Michigan State win in 2019. He said those were the only really 2 times he's ever been hurt in his whole football career. So for me, I don't know. I think this year will tell the tale with Noah, but he's definitely he's got the right frame of mind, and he's definitely in tip-top shape. I can tell you that.
Okay. Do you want a feature back, or you don't care?
Coach Sider told me, you know what? It's real hard. Forget 4 guys. It's real hard to play 3. But once it's easy to identify 2, and everyone's going to play 2. The tricky part is, how do you work the 3rd guy in? If it's me, I let the first half kind of maybe give them all a little bit of a run in the first half. But I think you go with your best guy, the final 20 minutes of the game. I just think
but you have to deal with the dynamic here that we didn't have to 10 or 15 years ago, which is mobility of players.
Right.
And you have to keep as many guys happy as you possibly can today, where you didn't before. So I think that enters into it.
But that's why
it's different than the days of Lorenzo White, man. I mean, you remember him? Yeah.
And I just think that if you're a kid, you have to realize that there's injuries are going to happen. To get through a Big Ten season, a program's going to need at least somebody's going to get hurt this year, Dave. Somebody always gets hurt, or somebody always.
Yeah, and as a coach, you want that depth.
So you want to have that. You gotta feel good about at least 3 guys, and if one guy, if I think the competition and the practice and all that stuff, things sort themselves out. But I get your point. I just think if you're Penn State, you're going to try and add 2 running backs in every recruiting class moving forward, and you just know that the good ones are only going to be around for 3 years. So you got to have a contingency plan. But
so you get my point?
Yeah, I do get your point.
As James Franklin would say, I get it. I get it.
Dave, I get it. But I want to see a healthy Noah Cain. I really like Kevon Lee too. So I just think that Penn State's running game.
Say hi to Bob.
There he is.
He came in. He's a hot dog. He's a hot dog. He's a hot dog.
Yeah. He's looking for peace.
He's 90 degrees himself. Wow.
All right, Dave, we're about to wrap up this edition of Penn Live's Penn State Blue-White Breakdown. He is Dave Jones. That was Kaiser Jones. I'm Bob Flounders. We're getting closer and closer to college football season. I want to end, Dave, with one non-Penn State football note, because I know you're going to get a kick out of it.
Around here, they would call that a note. It's a note. That's how you say it in Philly talk.
Nebraska's new AD, Trev Alberts. Let's hear it.
That got by me. I didn't see that.
Like half an hour ago.
Really?
Yeah. What do you think?
The question isn't what I think. It's what do you think? What's the nation's biggest closet Nebraska fan think about that hire? You know, they've had some.
I wouldn't even say I'm a closet Nebraska fan. I feel like
you're out there. You're out there.
But
they've had some really bad athletic directors. Sean Eichhorst was horrible. Man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, Trev will be Scott Frost's, bodyguard and best friend, and I'm sure he can do some things. But until they start,
is that good?
Until they start recruiting better, it really doesn't matter who the AD is. Upgrade the facilities as much as you can, but you still got to get them to come to Lincoln.
I don't know where they go. Did I ever send you that I'm not going to get into this, but I saw somebody on ESPN like 2 years ago say it was some up-talking 23-year-old blogger they had on, and she said, I was at Nebraska, and if do you remember this? I sent it to you.
I just like when you try to impersonate people. Like that part of it.
She said, the people here say, if Scott Frost does not make this work, who will? And that's kind of where they are. I don't know. This looked like a great idea to me, but maybe Bill Callahan looked like a great idea at some point. I don't know.
For me, I know Penn State fans are like, why are you guys talking about Nebraska? For me, where it was the first year I think they were 5-7. They showed promise, but the quarterback, Adrian Martinez, looked like he was going to be like a top 5 quarterback dual threat in the country, and he never turned the corner to take the next step in year 2.
Yeah, there's.
I don't think they planned for that.
There's shades of. What they didn't plan for is Dylan McCaffrey getting out of there, getting out of Dodge. They pulled the trigger. No, that was Luke McCaffrey. McCaffrey. I'm sorry. Yeah, I get my McCaffreys mixed up.
Those McCaffreys pull the cord quick, man. If they're not playing.
Yeah, and they didn't count on that. Yeah. He was supposed to be the quarterback of the future, and now where are they? It's not a good sign. So I don't know where they're going after this. What do? You already made an outside the box hire with Mike Riley, which was not a fit. Didn't that smack of Rich Rodriguez at Michigan? It just is like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that unless it's a really surprising result this year, I don't know that we'll be talking about Scott.
You know what they're going to end up doing in the future, I think, is a Scott Satterfield or Lance Leipold type of hire. Just not a guy who's a big splash, just a workman-like coach who knows how to win. And you watch Lance Leipold at Kansas. That's a terrific hire for them. Finally, a guy, he's not going to need much, and he can do more with less, which is the same as Scott Satterfield. He probably should have been hired at North Carolina, but ended up at Louisville instead. Two of the same kind of guys who've done it at a lower level, who just know how to coach. So maybe that's what they should do.
All right, Dave, we talked about Point Park. We talked about Tom Allen. We talked about Trev Alberts. Typical Penn State podcast. I thought it went well. Hopefully you and Kaiser are going to stay cool. And I'll be in Indianapolis at this time next week. Maybe we'll find some way to communicate via Zoom.
Oh, I think we need special guests there too. So arrange that from all the other drunken reporters out there from a bar. Can you do that?
How dare you? It's heavy drinking in Indianapolis.
Insinuating
100-degree weather. How dare you?
All right.
I am offended, but it's probably accurate. I don't know. Anyway, that's it for this edition of the Blue-White Breakdown. We will be back in some way, shape, or form next week. Take care, guys.